May the Lord's wisdom brighten our hearts. May the Lord's wisdom guide us. May the Lord's wisdom free us from fear. May the Lord's wisdom give us love and compassion. Om, Amen. So Aaron, would you please read us St. Thomas Aquinas's opening here?
Yes.
And be close to the microphone so we can hear you.
Okay. Should I read the intro right under his name?
Yes,
Also.
everything. Every word, his name, the intro, everything.
Because of my compassion, the sun wanted to be near me all night, and the earth deeded her fields to me, and all in heaven said, "We have voted you our governor. Tell us your divine mandate." And I did, and God will never revoke it. Nothing in existence is turned away.
So read that
Thomas
last line
Aquinas
again with a little
widely
more
regarded-
emphasis. Read that last line again,
Yes.
what his mandate is.
Nothing in existence is turned away.
Nothing in existence is turned away. This is the mandate of heaven. Okay, go on ahead.
Thomas Aquinas is widely regarded as the greatest Catholic theologian. One could say he was a spiritual master, always striving to reveal to others the path to Christ. It is said that toward the end of his life, he asked
More
Jesus to pass
slowly,
judgment.
more slowly,
Okay.
Aaron. Please start again and read more slowly and with emphasis.
Thomas Aquinas is widely regarded as the greatest Catholic theologian. One could say he was a spiritual master, always striving to reveal to others the path to Christ. It is said that toward the end of his life, he asked Jesus to pass judgment upon one of his books, and Jesus replied, "You have written well. Continue to write whatever your heart wishes to express." Thomas was born in Aquino, Italy, near Naples, into a noble family. At the age of 5, he was sent to the Benedictine Abbey of Monte Cassino to receive his basic education, in the hope that he would someday become an influential abbot. At an early age, he began to develop a great and lasting love of the scriptures, especially the Psalms, and at times he revealed what was to become his hallmark by stunning his teachers with profound questions and insights about God. Here, he also developed a great love for meditation and solitude, which he later described as the greatest opportunity offered to a human being, a life of contemplation of the wonders of the creation and God. At the age of 17, he became a Dominican novice. How do you pronounce
Mendicant.
Yes, in mendicant order. This order, which was considered countercultural, had been started by a contemporary of Saint Francis of Assisi, and was based on the principles of poverty, preaching, and complete faith in God. Not long after Thomas's brothers, at the direction of their mother, kidnapped him and imprisoned him for nearly 2 years within the family castle to force him to disavow his radical mendicant way of life. Refusing various temptations offered to him, he spent his time memorizing the scriptures. Finally, his family relented and allowed him to return to the Dominicans. After further studies in Naples, he was appointed as a master of the University of Paris in 1257. During this time, he came to embrace the long suppressed Aristotelian text on metaphysics. These texts helped develop in him the ability to present the profound in simple terms, while also creating in Thomas a reverence and almost scientific approach to every moment of time and every creature and form in existence. His experience became that all in creation were revelations of God's infinite, eternal, expanding being. Over the next 16 years, he composed nearly 100 really remarkable works. This prolific output is all the more remarkable in light of the numerous stories of Thomas Aquinas often being absorbed in states of enhancement and being completely unconscious of his
Enchantment,
surroundings.
in states of enchantment.
Yes, in states of enchantment and being completely unconscious of his surroundings or his actions, even to the point of putting incredible items into his mouth.
Inedible items.
I'm sorry. Inedible items into his mouth at the dining table. Near the end of his life, he had a divine revelation which, celebrating Mass in the chapel of St. Nicholas in Naples, that caused him to state, "I can no longer write, for God has given me such glorious knowledge that all contained in my works are as straw, barely fit to absorb the holy wonders that fall in a stable." 3 months later, he died.
Okay, I'd just like to make some remarks about St. Thomas Aquinas. This man's intellect was astounding. Both sides of his mind worked full tilt. This is why he was able, even as a child, to, as they said, have these insights and ask these questions about God. To be appointed a master, spiritual master, at the University of Paris, what was it? Appointed a master at the University of Paris in 1257. This is when he was still very young. This was one of the, if we remember, Meister Eckhart also had such an appointment. It was one of the most prestigious things that could happen to you as a scholar and as a theologian in those days. And one of the reasons that it was so remarkable is that it was such a free thinking place. The University of Paris has always been known as a place of free thought, except when it's been suppressed by this and that. But notice that this is where he came across the Aristotelian texts on metaphysics. I'm not recommending that anybody read those texts, but they are quite remarkable in, as it says, their ability to present complex ideas simply. This was one of Aristotle's great gifts. And if you can imagine writing 16 books, 16 really worthy books, 100 books in 16 years, writing over 100 books in 16 years. He composed nearly 100 truly remarkable works in 16 years. And as it said, he was often in some form of samadhi, which here is very sweetly, I think, characterized as enchantment with the divine presence, and being completely unconscious of his surroundings, even to the point of putting inedible items into his mouth at the dining table. And then this business, and it's all the more remarkable because the Catholic Church adopted him in such a way that he became the basis of a strong movement that lasted for a long time in the Catholic Church of scholasticism, based on his those truly remarkable works. But then his revelation that he had 3 months before he died, I can no longer write, for God has given me such glorious knowledge that all contained in my works are as straw, barely fit to absorb the holy wonders that fall in a stable. Now, this is not false humility. This is his true estimation of what the mind can produce versus what is revealed to us in the most profound states of spiritual experience. So, Haima, would you like to read the first poem on behalf of love?
Sure, Brother Shankara, I will.
Yes, and please, as I say, read slowly with emphasis so that we understand what the poet is saying, not having anything to do with how you talk. Just that's the only way that poetry can be understood, when
That's
trying to hear it rather than just read it yourself.
Okay, I will definitely try that. On behalf of love, every truth without exception, no matter who makes it, is from God. If a bird got accused of singing too early in the morning, if a lute began to magically play on its own in the square, and the chanting sounds it made drove a pair of young lovers into a wild, public display of passion. If this lute and bird then got called before the Inquisition and their lives were literally at stake, could not God walk up and say before the court, all acts of beauty are mine, all happen on the behalf of love? And while God was there, testifying for our heart's desires, hopefully the judge would be astute enough to brave a question that could go, Dear God, you say all acts of beauty are yours. Surely we can believe that. But what of all actions we see in this world? For is there any force in existence greater than the power of your omnipresent hand? And God might have responded, I like that question, adding, may I ask you one as well? And then God would say, have you ever been in a conversation when children entered the room and you then ceased speaking because your wisdom knew they were not old enough to benefit, to understand? As exquisite is your world, most everyone in it is spiritually young. Spirituality is love, and love never wars with the minute, the day, oneself and others. Love would rather die than maim a limb, a wing. Dear, anything that divides man from man, earth from sky, light and dark, one religion from another, oh, I best keep silent. I see a child just entered the room. Beautiful. Second time, on behalf of love. Every truth, without exception, no matter who makes it, is from God. If a bird got accused of singing too early in the morning, if a lute began to magically play on its own in the square, and the chanting sounds it made drove a pair of young lovers into a wild public display of passion, if this lute and bird then got called before the Inquisition and their lives were literally at stake, could not God walk up and say before the court, all acts of beauty are mine, all happen on the behalf of love? And while God was there, testifying for our heart's desires, hopefully the judge would be astute enough to brave a question that could go, Dear God, you say all acts of beauty are yours. Surely we can believe that. But what of all actions we see in this world? For is there any force in existence greater than the power of your omnipresent hand? And God might have responded, I like that question, adding, May I ask you one as well? And then God would say, Have you ever been in a conversation when children entered the room and you then ceased speaking because your wisdom knew they were not old enough to benefit, to understand? And exquisite is your world. Most everyone in it is spiritually young. Spirituality is love, and love never wars with the minute, the day, one's self and others. Love would rather die than maim a limb, a wing. Dear, anything that divides man from man, earth from sky, light and dark, one religion from another, oh, I best keep silent. I see a child just entered the room. Beautiful.
Thank you, Irma. That's a tough poem to read, and you did a good job.
Thank you, Brother Shankar.
Anything from anyone about this remarkable poem?
Brother Shankara?
Yes, Showers. I am.
Yes,
So good to hear your voice, dear.
thank you, Brother Shankara.
And you're sounding strong.
Yeah, because of all the love and inspiration that I get from you all the
Dear
time.
one, dear one.
My question is, it's a very clever way that he has ended the poem, kind of giving a hint about what divides, man from man and earth from sky, or all those things that are not love. But then why did he end up like, oh, I best keep silent? I see a child just entered the room. It's almost like I want him to spill the beans.
Well, as he said, as exquisite as your world is, almost everyone in it is spiritually young. So the poem starts and ends with a statement of truth. In the beginning, saying that everything that is true is made by God. And as we get to the heart of the poem, having set up the metaphors of the bird and the lute, whose lives are literally at stake, as he said. The judge says, Is there anything more powerful than your omnipresent hand? Which is to say, as is very aptly demonstrated in the book of Job, nothing happens but by God's permission. All truth is made by God. All love is made by God. And in a way that is not knowable to us in our ordinary frame of consciousness, our childlike frame of consciousness. Even the darkness is made by God. If you remember the book of Job, the accuser, called Satan, but the accuser, the liar, comes to God and says, "You think this guy Job really loves you? Smite him. See what happens." And God says, "No, I can't do that to my devotee. I can't do that." And the accuser says, yeah, you're just afraid to find out the truth. And so God says, "Very well, then you do it." And it is done. And it is one of the most profound books of the Bible, of the Old Testament. And it's alluded to here in those lines. But as he says at the end of the poem, if I say this to you out loud, if I say this to you just straight out, your childlike nature won't be able to accept it. You have to do what is necessary to find it out for yourself. And as we go through Aquinas' poems, we'll see that he does explain more fully. Oh my goodness, what in the world is going on here? He does explain more fully what he means by all of this.
Thank you, Brother Shankara.
This is, after all, the opening poem, and it's remarkable in its length and its complexity, and deserves several readings. You know, dear, anything that divides man from man, earth from sky, light and dark, one religion from another. And then the invitation is, do what's necessary to become spiritually mature and understand it for yourself. Anything else from anyone about this? Oh, Katrina, I will remember to email you the Vivekananda's complete works.
Oh, I have it. I
Oh,
got
good.
it. Mhm. Yes. I
Very
found it.
Okay, very good, dear.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening, Heidi.
Hey, sorry, I'm a little distracted. I have a kitty who's throwing up tonight. So,
Oh my.
yeah. So anyways, you talked about the poem being long, and I just noticed when I was reading it tonight, the second sentence, if a bird got accused of singing too early in the morning.
Yes.
Talk about a long poem. That's a very long sentence. It goes all the way, 3/4 down the page.
Mm-hmm.
All acts of beauty are mine, all happen on behalf of love. It's just a very long sentence.
Yes, it is.
So,
Thomas Aquinas was, broke the 14-word rule.
yeah. So That's what I wanted to point out.
Yes, he challenges us. Aquinas is, as was said earlier, he is one of the greatest intellects of that period of time, maybe of any time. And so yes, he writes long sentences, and um, he develops complex thoughts. So, is there anything else about this remarkable poem that Ladinsky chose to open his section on Aquinas with?
I like this sentence, Brother Shankara. As exquisite is your world, most everyone in it is spiritually young. Yes, I am definitely spiritually young. It's a beginning stage on maybe on the bottom of the step, or it's very true. Truly, world is beautiful, delicate, but we are all, many of us are spiritually young, not all of us, and I'm one of them.
Well,
It's very beautifully put it in.
all of us who are not illumined are still spiritually young.
Yes.
And I think that includes everyone on the screen here without insulting anyone. We are all spiritually young. As the Baal Shem Tov said, Baal Shem Tov was one of the great Jewish saints. And he said, to conclude that you are common and unlearned is the achievement of a lifetime.
Sure.
To conclude that you are common and unlearned is the achievement of a lifetime. And I encourage any of you who want to read one of the more humorous and strangely compelling saints of the Jewish tradition, read the works of, and they're not many because they weren't collected, but you can find just Baal Shem Tov, Baal Shem Tov.
Thank you.
So all of us who are not illumined, we must say we are spiritually young. Anything else from anyone? Okay. All I can say is it's worth your time, in my opinion, to read that opening poem over again. And of course, Ladinsky, being who he is, follows that long, complex poem with a very short one that points us in the direction of spiritual maturity, close to God. One may never have heard the sacred word Christ, but be closer to God than a priest or nun. Close to God. One may never have heard the sacred word Christ, but be closer to God than a priest or nun. Which again is a quite revolutionary thought for a 13th century Catholic. Any other remarks on that poem?
I guess he's talking about the purity and the innocence of like a child that makes one closer to God, even though they have not heard the word Christ. Like a genuine sincerity and a genuineness to seek God.
That and the equivalent simplicity and innocence of the illumined. Yes, I think that's a very good reading, Swayam.
I read the meaning as be closer to God is be closer to yourself inside you. God is right there. And rather than a priest or a nun, first be close to yourself. That's where the God, that means you are closer to God right there. That's another meaning I'm reading in my mind. The Shankar,
Very good.
different meaning. Yes.
And of course, that is what Christ told us to do.
Kingdom of God is within us. Exactly.
Heidi, would you like to read this next poem, From My Breath? Or are you still dealing with a vomiting cat?
No, he's on my lap right now, but I can read it. Yeah.
Okay, good, because you're a good reader.
Thank you. From my breath. From my breath, I extract God. And my eye is a shop where I offer him to the world. From my breath. From my breath, I extract God. And my eye is a shop where I offer him to the world.
Any thoughts?
Well, when he's talking about the extracting the breath, God through the breath. So when I first read that, I thought like the exhale. So you had to like inhaled or received him somehow to exhale him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. His presence is in you and with you, around you.
Well, very well said.
And then the eye, you see him. You're breathing him, and then the eye, you see him surrounding you in just about everything. And so maybe you share that, or I don't know.
It is the experience of people who long practice of prayer and meditation, concentration and contemplation, that the Sanskrit is soham. In breathing, I am that. It is anyone who practices prayer, particularly Lectio Divina, or centering prayer, or any of those forms, they come to understand that there's something, that it is the divine that is causing us to breathe. And then when he says, and my eye is the shop or I offer God to the world, offer him to the world. So it shines out from my eyes. It shines out from my eyes, the truth of him within.
I think that's a very good explanation for the indescribable joy and peace we get in the presence of holy company. Even virtually, when we watch the videos and we look at, the faces of these swamis or any holy person,
Mhm.
because they are offering him to us through their eyes.
Wonderfully said. And there are some wonderful, wonderful Christian teachers these days. One just recently passed, Father Thomas Keating. You can find his work all over the YouTube, and shines from him. Father Richard Rohr. Keating came to very much follow the mystical aspects of St. Thomas Aquinas's. Not he walked away from the scholastic aspects, the Catholic scholasticism, but embraced Aquinas's mystical teachings. Anything else from anyone?
Hello.
Yes, Liam. Good to
Hey,
hear from you.
good to be here. And yeah, the one thing that came to my mind as Heidi read the poem and she shared a bit, something that just struck me was this, this idea that, we breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide, which is, I guess prana or life energy for plant life.
Mm-hmm.
And, in this Western society, there's a lot of emphasis on, like doing to-do lists and, how much can you get done? And this is, what you do is what you contribute. And, for me, like this poem suggested that, just being alive and breathing air, we actually contribute quite a bit to the ecosystem,
Beautifully said, Liam.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. One does not have to justify their existence. Yes.
Yeah. Even though we experience, or at least I feel like I experience quite a bit of pressure from society to do so, but this poem suggests otherwise to me.
Very well done. Very well said. Exactly. The simplicity of simply breathing, and then having breathed and understood the nature of what you're doing, then you open your eye. You open your eyes and shine that out into the world.
Thank you. I really needed to hear that because right now I'm on the receiving end of so much love and affection and help, and I can't do much. So the fact that just by being and breathing, whatever you said, Brother Shankara, one doesn't have to justify one's existence.
Absolutely not.
That, and I guess for a few more weeks, I'm going to be sort of out of commission. So it definitely gives me strength
Good, dear.
and acceptance.
And
Thank you.
yeah, you just enjoy yourself and heal. That's all that your task is right now, just to be and heal. And we're glad you're still with us. So we've had two very short poems that each one just makes a flat out assertion. So after the long, complex poem, which is the setup, now we have the payoffs. And then this poem with which Ladinsky started the section on Aquinas. Liam, do you have the book in front of you? You want to read this book, the poem, The Mandate?
Yeah, I'll read it.
Thank you.
Thank you. The Mandate. Because of my compassion, the sun wanted to be near me all night, and the earth deeded her fields to me, and all in heaven said, "We have voted you our governor. Tell us your divine mandate." And I did, and God will never revoke it. Nothing in existence is turned away. More tender is my Lord's heart than any heart has ever been. So, when the divine realm asked me to govern it, with one simple rule, I looked into his eyes and then knew what to say to any angel who might serve as a sentry to God. No creature should be turned away. The Mandate. Because of my compassion, the sun wanted to be near me all night, and the earth deeded her fields to me. And all in heaven said, "We have voted you our governor. Tell us your divine mandate." And I did, and God will never revoke it. Nothing in existence is turned away. More tender is my Lord's heart than any heart has ever been. So, when the divine realm asked me to govern it, with one simple rule, I looked into his eyes and then knew what to say to any angel who might serve as a sentry to God. No creature should be turned away.
Not only do you not have to justify your existence, but should anything wish to judge you, any angel wish to stand in your way, the answer is no. No creature should be turned away, no matter how errant. That's what, when Christ was asked, "Why do you spend so much time with the sinners and the publicans?" His answer was so simple. Well, they're the ones who need me. I just found this poem when I first read it. I just found it thrilling. Because Aquinas is speaking as the companion, the, the, the helpmate of God in creation. And because of the compassion, the being with, the sun wanted to be with him all night, and the earth deeded her fields to him. And said, tell us. The one simple rule. God will never revoke it. No creature should be turned away.
It completely crushes justification.
Say it again from the beginning, June.
It completely crushes justification.
Yes.
And I think this too is near the heart of the book of Job.
Mm-hmm. Can you expand on why you say that? I think you're absolutely right. Why?
Because Job spends quite a bit of his time trying to justify himself. I did this and I did that. And in the end, that isn't what our Lord really wants.
Mm-hmm. And in your experience, June, what is it that our Lord really wants?
I think our Lord really asks very little. It's to love and to
Yes.
be more like him.
Yes. My burden is easy. My yoke is light. And what does he say? Be childlike. Be loving and simple. I think you're absolutely right.
I just loved what June said. Absolutely loved it. Thank you, June.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, thank you, June. Here's this giant intellect of Thomas Aquinas coming down to just what June said. Just the love, the compassion, the being with the divine, which leads him to say, I looked into his eyes and then knew what to say to any angel who might serve as a sentry to God. No creature should be turned away. Anything else from anyone?
Brother Shankara, I see
Yeah.
the first few lines, 3 lines. Compassion, the power of compassion is expressed there. The sun wanted to be near him all night. The earth deeded her fields to him, and all in the heaven responded because of my compassion. How powerful the compassion is. Usually it's very attractive. And he just molded whole universe into that one word of compassion. How attractive it is.
Yes. And it's a verb, you know.
Yeah,
It's not a noun.
that's true. And
It's
nothing
like
is,
love. Love is a verb.
yes. Thank you.
Well, thank you. This is what makes these evenings so sacred in the company of these saints, is that it does awaken all of this in us. It gives us cause to say it out loud and to think of it. Anything else from anyone? Okay, we've got time for maybe one more. Bart, you want to read every foot at a time?
Yes, I will, Brother Shankar. Namaste, everyone.
Namaste.
Every foot a shrine. Every creature has a religion. Every foot is a shrine where a secret candle burns. Every cell in us worships God. Every arrow in the bow of desire has rushed out in hope of nearing him. It's powerful. Every foot a shrine. Every creature has a religion. Every foot is a shrine where a secret candle burns. Every cell in us worships God. Every arrow in the bow of desire has rushed out in hope of nearing him.
I didn't get that last word.
Oh, okay.
In hope of,
Nearing.
In hope of nearing him. Every arrow, did you hear it, June? Every arrow in the bow of desire has rushed out in hope of nearing him.
thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
Mm.
And if we just go right back to where we started with Aquinas, the very first lines of the very first poem, every truth, no matter who makes it, is from God.
Mhm.
And I think this is a truth. That's why these are called love poems from God.
I really love this one. I don't have the poem in front of me right now, but what does it say? Every cell.
Every cell in us worships God.
Yeah. I mean, I believe that, and it seems just exactly the way it is to me, but I'm a bit of a weirdo.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for being a weirdo.
Um, it's just like, sometimes you can just feel it. I mean, we are not what we seem, of course. We live as if we are what we seem until we reflect on it a little bit or a lot of it. And sometimes you can just feel it. You're not anymore, this talking head, thinking head, or even feeling heart. It's like every cell in your body together is worshiping, in this kind of blob that's you. But it's sometimes, I mean, I'm just going to share something uh personal, but it's kind of fabulous. And sometimes if I'm like feeling bad, like physically, I'll just get quiet and I'll just kind of like talk to the cells of my body and kind of bring them all together and appreciate that they're there and tell them that I realize that I'm them. It's like I'm not this one thing. I am all these things that make up my body and being. And we're in this together. And I'm sorry some of you guys are like kind of having a hard time today. So let's all help each other. That's weird. But it's amazing how it always has some effect. Sometimes it has a lot of an effect. Because it's all these little things and it's all one. It's all connected. Everything is connected.
Yes.
And if we are worshiping God, then every cell in our body is worshiping God, and every creature and every foot is a shrine. And sometimes I talk to my feet. Oh.
I think that's really interesting, Cindy, because sometimes I wonder if like doing mantra might like actually heal the body. Like, I mean, like we don't have any like proof or evidence for this, but I think it's an interesting thought. I don't know.
I think so. It's this sound. What is it?
Shabda Brahman.
Shabda Brahman.
God in the form of sound.
It's like music is so healing, and a lot of that I think is the vibration of it, and how you can hear a song sung in a language and you have that's not one you know. You don't know what it means, but you can feel it. I mean, I know people who are not Christian and not even religious, but they are so struck by really good gospel music, because it's that vibration of that sound that has that intention of worshiping God or worshiping whatever. So yeah, I think there's something to that. And I think mantra and chanting, definitely chanting. Oh, look at the puppy.
He just woke up.
Is that your dog? Is that y'all's dog?
Yeah.
If you could communicate with him, you'd find out what his religion is.
It's 9 o'clock.
Yes, well, this is what happens. We were talking about the book of Job, and we were talking about these poems. When you begin to take words like omnipresent seriously, omnipresent, present everywhere, without exception. So, of course, present in the cells, of course, present in the foot, present in every creature. And then, omnipotent, as the poem asked about the bird and the lute. Is there any power greater than your omnipotent hand? No. Whether we acknowledge it in our awareness or not, we are in the presence of God, and we are infused with the presence of God every moment. It's a beautiful, beautiful thought. And Aaron, this business of healing, if we concern ourselves too much about the healing of the body, then that's where our intention and our energy will go. But if we use the idea of mantra or prayer as healing of our relationship with our true being, and heal our ignorance, that's what Aquinas was pointing to when he said, "Oh, a child has entered the room." And then, as Christ said, just say, "Thy will be done on earth as it is within in heaven." The kingdom of heaven is within. So let it be done without. Thy will be done without as well as within. Anything else from anyone? Well, can we agree that Aquinas is pretty rich?
Yes.
Every arrow in the bow of desire has rushed out in the hope of nearing him. We have a prayer that we say pretty much every evening here. And it says, "Breaker of this world's chain, we adore thee, whom all men love." And the idea is just exactly what's embodied in these lines. No matter what we think we're loving, no matter what we think we're desiring, what we're really desiring, what's really behind that is the desire to be near him, with him, or her, if that's the bent of your nature and your heart. Anything else, dear ones? Om Amen. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Amen. Any other final thoughts from anyone? So, may you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be cheerful. May you have peace of mind. And may you go forward in the loving and protective embrace of the divine presence. Until we see one another again, how delightful to be with you all this evening. A whole screen full of you. It's wonderful.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Brother Shankara. Thank you, everybody.
And Swayam, don't even give a thought
Okay.
to justifying your existence. You are alive because of your divinity.
Thank you, Brother Shankara.
All right, everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Hey, kitty cat.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
good night. Good night, sick cat. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
And
Oh,
and good night, loving puppy dog.
I know. We got to see the animals, right? I'll have to ask little guy what his religion is. I never
Yeah, please. Yeah.
thought of that. Never even thought to ask him.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, gosh.
he might tell you,
Yeah,
and you might find that you're very much at the heart.
yeah. Could be. Yeah, could be.
Good night, dear ones.
Thank you so much.
Good
night.
night. Thank you.
Good night, June. So glad you were with us. And I loved what you said.
Thank you.
Good night, June.
Good night.
Good night, all.
Bye-bye.